Well, hello. Let's wait and see if anybody appears. Hello, Rosie. Can you hear me? Can somebody just give me a message to say if they can hear me? Because I've just quickly had to set this up. Hi, Judith. Can you hear me? Can you just give me a message to let me know you can hear me all right? Melanie, can you hear me okay? Hi, Melanie. Can you hear me? Hi, Rosie. Can you hear me? Great. Thank you. You can hear me. Okay, we shall just wait a minute or two more for some people to join us. So as we mentioned, today's Facebook Live is all about sorting out worry and negative thoughts. Thank you for all the people who've sent me questions, either via private message or via the comments. That's been really helpful, really useful. Please do keep them coming if you have any questions, especially during this today. But if you have any issues with anxiety, stress, depression, or worry, do let me know and I can answer those the best I can for you. Okay, we'll just wait a minute and get a few more to come on. Yes. Hi, Rosie. Brilliant. Okay. So let's get started. So yes, the video I put out the other day is just that I do a lot of work with anxiety, stress, depression, and worry. I'm at the point now where I'm only taking on 3 new clients per week, and lots of people have been sending me messages asking how they sorted, how do they make things better. So I thought if we did a regular sort of Facebook Live every other day or something, I can answer those questions and point you in the right direction. I had a bit of a nightmare of a day today. I've been out seeing a client this morning. And would you believe the internet wasn't available in the shop where I was working to get home, ready in time to do this, and no internet in Cramlington either. So I've had to dash over to my parents' place, which you can see is rather nice, and we managed to get things going. So we don't worry about these problems. So we had a really good question from Caroline, and thanks to Caroline for sending this in. And she basically asked, how can I stop negative, repetitive thoughts about awful things that have happened in the past? And that's a really, really good question. Hi to the other Melanie as well today. Hi, Melanie. So how do we stop negative thoughts from the past, the future? Well, basically, worry comes in 2 different ways. First of all, worry can be a future worry. Lots of people have this habit, this amazing skill that they can focus on something in the future that hasn't happened, that they can constantly think about it and think about all the different permutations that have gone wrong. It means they've got such focus and such concentration that something way, way there in the future is going to go wrong. It's actually a really good skill if we turn that around. If we can put that much focus and skill into doing something that's positive for us, it can make a hell of a difference. If people in life can focus on the goals, or in business can focus on the goals and do that, it's a fantastic skill to have. However, when you constantly do it and it causes you a problem, then it's negative. So we need to sort that. So worry that way works as worry in the future. The other type of worry is some people constantly worry about the past, as Caroline has written in here. We can think about things that have happened in the past, and we do a couple of things. First of all, our mind distorts, it deletes, it changes the things that happened in the past, and we can make them an awful lot worse, or we can just focus on the things that did happen. So the first thing we've got to recognize, guys, is we can't do anything about the stuff that's happened in the past. We can sometimes change how we feel about it, take the emotion out of it, but we can't really change anything that's gone on in the past. It happens to all of us. One of the things that's really important, I remember Richard Bandler saying this, is that life will happen to you. You know, things are going to happen. People are going to come in your life. They're going to go out of your life. Some people are going to get involved with you and then leave you. Some people are going to die on you. If you have pets, pets are fantastic, bring so much to us. But things are always going to go wrong. There's always going to be problems. Our health's going to get worse. Things are going to change. And people who are good at having good mental health are those that can find ways to move on from it. If we focus on everything that's gone wrong in the past, we cause ourselves problems. If we focus on everything that could go wrong in the future, we usually attract it. So there's different ways we can work on this, but it's no good doing that. So we have to pull in some skills that really help us to deal with things well, bounce back and recover from them. And everybody goes through it. It doesn't matter who you are, things are going to go wrong. You know, even Richard Branson, you know, we look at him, he's a very successful person, but he's had so many businesses go bust on him. So many people have left him. Loads of people have screwed him over money, but he still pushes on and he still smiles. And that's why he's so successful. But for mental health, we need to do this. So we're going to look at a way to do this. I'm going to give you a really good skill that you can go away and practice to do this. So first thing I want you to do is I want you to imagine that you've got a new job starting tomorrow. And your job is the customer experience manager in a cinema. And your job is that you make sure customers come in, they enjoy the movie, and they go away and they give you 5-star reviews. And part of your job is that you make sure that that cinema is clean and tidy when the customers first come in. You also make sure that the temperature of the room is just perfect. You make sure that the sound is just the right level. It's not too loud, it's not too quiet. And then also, most importantly, you check that the screen's totally in focus and the customers don't get any distractions, so they can sit there, totally get immersed in that movie. And then when they leave, they go out there and they give you the 5-star reviews. So I want you to imagine you start your first day there, the customers come in, you greet them, you make sure they sit in the right seats, everything's perfect, they've got the snacks, all the adverts go on, and then guess what? That little advert, that little warning sign comes up just before the movie to say, please switch off your mobile phones because we don't want to distract people during the movie. We don't want people to see the white lights. We want you to enjoy the movie the best that you can. So people are coming in, they're sitting there, they're watching the movie starts, and you're watching, you're scanning all the time to see that everybody's happy and enjoying the movie. But then about 20 minutes in, some inconsiderate person in the front row picks up his mobile phone, switches it on, and he starts to look at his Facebook. And you notice a few people start moving the seats and they get a bit distracted because they're trying to focus on the screen up here, but down here at the bottom, there's some nugget with his little mobile phone. And then within 3 or 4 minutes of that, 2 girls in the seats a couple of rows behind, they do exactly the same. One starts checking Instagram, one starts checking Facebook. And again, you can see the audience is starting to get a bit distracted and annoyed. And then within a couple of minutes more, another 4 or 5 people have all picked up their mobile phones. They've got those bright screens on. And before you know it, 15, 20 minutes into the film, you've got 20-odd people sitting there texting on the phones, doing everything they do. And people walk out of there in disgust. People leave at the end of the movie not being able to watch it totally. And you've lost, you failed. They all go home and they leave nasty messages on Facebook and Google and don't give you the 5 stars. Now, that analogy is exactly like anxiety, worry, and negative thoughts, in that once you allow one of those little lights to come on, it starts to bubble and it gets worse. One person starts and the rest start. So the question I've got for you now, and I'd like you to put a comment, is if you were that customer service manager in that cinema, what number, which customer would you stop from putting on that mobile phone? Would it be the first one? Would it be the third one? Would it be the 5th, the 7th? So just comment now, what number would you go and slap a customer around the face and say, stop putting your mobile phones on? Quickly do that now for me. Have a guess, whatever number you want. Okay, so we've got some 2s, we've got some 3s, we've got some 4s. And the right answer is number 1. That's it, Judith. Spot on. First one. Yeah. That's the right answer. The one that you need to go for is the first one. As soon as a customer puts on his mobile phone, you want to go slap it around the face and say either switch it off or take it outside, because as soon as one person does, so does everybody else. And that's the whole point with anxiety, stress, and worry, is that you constantly need to be scanning and then acting. As soon as you realize you feel anxious, you feel stressed, you feel nervous, you feel depressed, or that worry comes in, you need to act. So you scan all the time and you act. And as soon as you see it, you stop that anxiety coming in. Now, it's really interesting that when people have worry, stress, and anxiety, that usually they don't realize it happens until about a 5 or a 6. The weight, it builds up. It doesn't just come on or off. It just bubbles away. It starts with 1, it bubbles, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's the thing we've got to watch, and that we need to slap it down as soon as it starts. And there's loads of techniques to do that. So constantly you scan, and then you want to get into the habit of stopping it as soon as it starts. And this is what I do with a client on a one-to-one basis, or when we do video chats, is we examine that anxiety and we see where it starts. So there's a couple of things we can do. And the first one I recommend, as soon as you feel these feelings coming on, any unwanted feelings, mentally in your mind, bring up a great big red stop sign. You know the ones you see at the side of the road? You want to bring that up. Just immediately think in your mind, stop sign. And then scream as loud as you can in your mind, or if you're out in public and you don't mind looking like a nut, you can scream, stop! And that way you interrupt that pattern of the anxiety coming in. And then there's various different things we can do to then reduce that anxiety down and take it away. And different techniques work differently for people. So the first one we do is, as soon as you realize you've got that anxiety and you've put your gripping stop sign up there, I want you to examine your breathing. And most people, when they're anxious, breathe very shallowly in the top of the chest. Okay, if you look at nervous, anxious, depressed people, they breathe very shallowly in the top of the chest. And there's a big problem with that, in that, first of all, you have the wrong balance of CO2 and oxygen in your system. We need to breathe. You'll find relaxed, calm people breathe so much that their stomach moves in and out in a nice, comfortable pace. And it needs to be long breaths, maybe 4 in and 4 out. Because if you breathe very short breaths, again, you're pushing those levels up. If ever you do a CPR course or a medical attention course, people who are having panic attacks, people who are hyperventilating, are breathing in very short amounts, and again, just very shallow breaths. So it's really important that you focus on your breath and that you breathe in and out. And one of the things I teach people to do is to visualize that in the center of the chest, they're breathing in and out through the center of the chest. So you can quickly do that. Just imagine that you're breathing in and out in slow, long breaths. But imagine that you're breathing in through the center of your chest. And as soon as you start to do that, it brings those anxiety levels way, way down. The other thing we can do is something known as 7-11 breathing. And this is where you make sure that you breathe out longer than you breathe in. So if you breathe in for 7, you breathe out for 11. And if you're normally an anxious, stressed, worrying type person, that might feel a bit uncomfortable when you start, but just by getting to the point where you breathe in for 7 and out for 11, that actually really takes your anxiety levels down. And the more that you practice that, the more that becomes automatic. It's really, really easy, very simple little trick, and just practice that daily. Now, it might be that 7-11 are the wrong numbers for you. It might be you breathe in for 4 and breathe out for 6 or 7. And you just need to practice that over and over again. And we know, if we look at scans of the body, when we breathe in for, say, 4 and breathe out for 6, we take those stress and anxiety levels down. And it makes us feel so much better. And by moving that stomach in and out when we breathe, it helps us to calm down and relax. And there's loads of different breathing techniques that we can use. We usually match these to the client, but for bringing it down. So remember, you bring up that stop sign after you've scanned, you tell it to stop, and you start to breathe. The other thing that we can do is we bring up a really good feeling. You understand that when we worry about something, we usually worry on something negative. And of course, we're programmed from the press, the media, the TV, social media, Facebook. It's all negative stuff. in that we're programmed to look for those negatives. So we want to start bringing in a positive feeling that we can bring in on demand. So to give you a perfect example of this, some years ago I went through a divorce, and at one point I was denied access to my kids by my ex. And that was a horrible, stressful thing to go through. I had to fight, I had to go to the courts, had to put it all right, make sure everything was right for the kids. But there was nothing more stressful in my life that really made me feel ill. It actually did take my health down for a while, and it's not a nice thing to go through. But luckily, I knew a lot of these techniques. So what I used to do, I used to think of a lovely occasion. And one of those was with my Emma. We'd go up to the Pirate Park up in Cramlington, and she would play princesses and pirates or princesses and kings, and she'd spend forever bossing me around and get me to do stuff while she was on the climbing frame and the slide and everything else. So what I used to focus on whenever I started to worry or feel bad was I'd see that image of Emma. I'd see her on that slide, smiling her head off. I'd notice the colours in her hair. I'd notice the colour of the sky, the clouds, the other children playing, and I'd notice lots of different things visually. So I'd bring those up straight away. But then at the same time, I'd also think about all the things I could hear. So I'd start to think about all the sounds I can hear. So talk about Emma laughing and giggling and bossing me around as she does. And then I'd hear the other sounds of the children in the background, and you can hear the sound of the wind as it's coming along. And I'd build that up. So you've got the visual side of it, and then you've got the auditory, the hearing side of it. You're pulling all those all together. And finally, I'd then pull in how I felt. So standing there playing with Emma, I felt really good inside. I felt great in my stomach. I felt really relaxed in my shoulders and my neck. I could feel the sun on my skin being very warm, and I could feel the wind, the breeze just being so gentle. And you bring all these together. So think of something that really makes you happy, and I want you to think about all of those. And then the next step, once you've done that, is just gently close your eyes, really get into that moment, and ask yourself some really good questions. And one of those questions needs to be, if all of these feelings, sounds, and images had a color, what color would it be? And just pick the first one that comes to your mind. If you say, well, I don't know, say, if it did have a color, what color would it be? Just the first one that comes to mind. And the beautiful thing about that is everybody has a color. So there's a lovely color somewhere. And then the next question to ask is, if this color had a shape, what shape would it be? And usually people have circles, squares, triangles, swirly moving things. So ask yourself that as well, just to become aware of the color and the shape. And then you need to ask yourself, if this had a place in my body, where would it be? And usually that's in the heart, it's in the stomach, it might be in the mind. Some people have it in the tip of the finger. It's really weird. But again, you need to be asking yourself, where in your body would that be? And then what you can do is practice this all the time, is close your eyes, imagine bringing up that color wherever it is, spin it round with your mind, really spin it round with your mind. And as you do, imagine that it's getting brighter and brighter and stronger. And as you continue to spin it round, it moves up to the top of your head, and then it expands down to the tips of your toes and out to the tips of your fingers, and keep spinning it and make it stronger and stronger and stronger. And then if you want to, you can spin it even more and let it to ooze out of your body and create a great big egg-shaped aura all around your body. And what you have to do is practice this, just like riding a bike. The more you practice it, the easier it gets. And whenever you feel stressed, anxious, worried, you bring up those lovely images, you spin those colors, you bring it around. And what happens is that over time, your old pattern here, which is causing the problem, starts to shrink. And the new pattern that you're creating in your mind gets stronger and stronger until this becomes the dominant one. And whenever I was going through that stress and hassle and going to court and everything else that I had to fight for the kids for, this is what I used. And it gives me so much strength. We know that if we look at studies from MRI scans and CT scans, when people think of nice things, our immune system jumps up and works better. We know our digestive system gets into a much stronger point. We know we age slower. Our bodies heal and repair better. And when we get into this good state, we feel so much better. Now, what you'll find with that technique and the breathing technique and bringing up the stop sign is that you're starting to manage your mental states. And that's what success with mental health is all about. For people who have good mental health, they've got all these little skills and abilities that most of them don't even know about. They're not aware of them. And the idea is that once we practice them and we get better at them, we get far, far better. Now, there's a lot of other techniques and skills that we can use, but I find that works really well. So to remember, We need to be scanning all the time and registering our worry or anxiety, our stress or depression on a scale of 0 to 10. And the idea is you want to bring that down. So it might start off as a 10, and then you might use the breathing, you might use the stop sign, you might bring that visualization exercise and bring it way, way down. And with regular practice, this becomes so easy that you can always change your state whenever you need to. I get a lot of businessmen come to me who've got a fear of public speaking, and this is what I do with them. I had another exercise in, but it's just getting them into that good state when they're doing public speaking, and they feel so, so much better. There's other techniques that we can use as well. Some of you might have seen EFT tapping. This is where we start tapping around the top of the head. We do this silly thing with our hands. This is really weird doing this on the computer because it's the other way around. We do this weird tapping thing. So it's worth looking at tapping and getting into that as well. And just finding some skills that work for you. What we have to understand is that our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions can all run away with us. And with a bit of practice, we can learn to control them. We can choose what we feel. And there's loads of stories in history of people who've had an absolute awful time where they just start to feel how they want to do. I told the story the other day of the client who used to go to work every Monday morning. The boss would come in a foul temper, loads of problems, and he would just kick off and start screaming at her. And once she'd practiced to start to do this, she could stand there in front of this guy who was really giving her a hard time, and she'd just smile. I taught her how to anchor the feelings. She'd bring it up, and eventually the boss would just calm down and say, "What the hell's going on with you?" And she got quite emotional with this boss because she realized he had lots of stress, lots of problems. It wasn't her that was causing the problem. It was something else. And when we're in a better state and other people around us are not in such good states, first of all, it's like magic. We can affect the other people around us. When we use that lovely experience of spinning the colors and creating the aura, we can give ourselves protection, and we can very quickly learn how to do this. One of the things to be aware of is that worry, stress, and anxiety are simply mental patterns. It's a behavior that we do inside. Stress can be a little bit different, and it can be triggered from the outside, from something else going on. But the good thing about this is we can change these mental patterns. The more we practice a pattern, the stronger it gets. You know, we're born as babies. We have very few fears, and then very quickly we're scared of spiders and snakes. We've never seen these things, but we've picked them up from our parents. I know when I was really anxious, I kind of picked that up from my mother. My dad was stressed to death with the job that he had. So by the age of 15, I was just a mix of the two of them. And that's why I started to learn this self-hypnosis and NLP to change those things. I got rid of that nasty stammer, and it made such a difference. So the thing to remember, it doesn't matter how bad you are, and that if we practice this day by day, it gets better bit by bit. We might not be perfect straight away, but like the client I saw this morning when he came and he said, well, he says, I'm not great, but he says, I'm a million times better than I was last week when I came to see you. And in fact, I think he was pretty good today, but this is where it works. We always have to move forward. We always have to get better, and we have to find better things to do. So the whole point is, remember that we need to scan, we need to stop, we need to act, and start to bring in better feelings. And this way we can control our anxiety. We can feel so much better for it all. And over time, it gets there. It starts to change. It starts to move better. The difference with seeing a therapist or somebody who can help you with this is that you'll get there an awful lot faster. Things can be tailored exactly to you. There's hundreds of techniques we can use, but it's finding the right ones that help you out and plug it all in. So the ways that we help people is, first of all, people come to us one-to-one. We do one-to-one sessions in the Northeast. We also do one-to-one sessions via video, just exactly like this, or using something called Zoom, and we can do that very effectively as well. We also run a load of workshops in the Northeast called The Secret Workshops. These are run on Wednesday nights. And the next one that we're doing fits in with this really nicely. It's called The Secrets of Dealing with Difficult People. I'll place the link below. The workshop's only £15. It will give you a load of skills, and you'll meet some other people with very similar thoughts and ideas of wanting to improve. You can come along to those and really learn how to get on better with those around you when you've got awkward older relatives, maybe people at work. And it's just about learning these skills and moving forward. So thank you to everybody who sent us questions. I will do another live tomorrow if all goes well. I'd love you to send me more questions, either by posting below or by a private message. I don't know if anybody's got any questions they'd like me to answer now. Let's just have a quick. Melanie Mann says, She's still bossy, yes, talking about Emma. Any other questions, guys? Have you got any questions that you'd like me to cover? Anything? You have an idea? Just give it very quickly. Any comments? Thanks to Melanie. Yes, Melanie O'Dowd, thank you. I'm looking forward to seeing you very shortly. Any other questions? Well, that's good. I hope I've answered all of those. So yes, if you've got any questions, send them to me, comments below, or send me a PM, and I'll do another live hopefully tomorrow and answer any more questions that we have. So enjoy the rest of your day. If you'd like a quick phone call with me, strategy call to help deal with anxiety, worry, or stress, send me a message for that as well. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. Take care. Bye for now.